You know, Bob, there are a lot of things that should and shouldn't be done by a mortgage applicant during the mortgage process, whether it's a purchase or refinance.
And you know what, Rick? Let's talk about that.
Hello and welcome to this episode of What's Their MO. I'm Rick Masnick.
And I'm Bob Orlando. Today we want to go over the do's and don'ts of what to do during your mortgage process.
Yeah, we've got some illustrations to cover a few of these different topics, and the first one pertains to credit. Obviously, you want to keep making your usual payments so everything stays on time, but you also want to continue to use that credit as you normally would, because one of the factors of your credit score is your behavior with your credit. If you applied for credit recently, which will show up in the inquiry section of your credit report, we'll need to know if you were granted that credit, what the limit is, and what you've actually charged, if anything, yet. And let us know if you've had any significant changes with respect to employment, income, debt, or any other life changes.
Right, and what you don't want to do is when it comes to credit is don't open any new credit cards, don't co-sign for anyone, and don't do anything that would increase the amount of debt on any of these cards, like a large purchase. All of these items will actually negatively affect your debt ratio. The last item in this category is do not leave any disputes on your credit report. The reason for this is that a disputed account on your credit report means that your credit score is basically inaccurate. You're being given the benefit of the doubt that the account isn't in bad standing, it is in good standing, so your FICO scores could be affected.
All right. And our next category is regarding assets. If you have to liquidate stocks or other investments, you're going to want to do that as soon as possible, since it can take a little time for the funds to get into your checking account. And if you're getting gift funds from a family member, it can save a lot of time to just have those funds wired directly to the closing attorney and let your lender know about that as soon as possible to get the proper guidance.
Right, and the don'ts of the asset category is do not close any accounts, whether it's an asset account or a credit account that'll show up in your credit report. And also don't pay off any debts. Don't pay any debts off unless your lender instructs you to do that. This will only reduce the amount of assets that you use to pay this debt off and could also affect your credit score.
Yep. And with employment, you really need to let your lender know if you've changed your job during the mortgage process, because they're going to need to verify employment and get a new pay stub. And this should all be done in a timely manner to keep the closing date intact.
Yeah, and as far as the don'ts for this category, please, if at all possible, don't change your employment during the mortgage process. It does create some hiccups and could actually delay the closing.
And then with respect to the closing, if you're going to need a power of attorney, a mobile closing, and that's where the closing agent comes to you, or even a mail-out closing because maybe it's a second home in another state, it's best to have that conversation very early in the process.
Right, and another thing that's really important is don't let your ID expire. Stay on time for any of the renewal dates for your IDs, and make sure that the lender has the most up-to-date ID that you have. You're also going to need a copy of your ID at closing.
Yeah. So if you found this information useful and helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you know someone else that this information could benefit, please pass this video on to them. But for now, that concludes this episode of What's Their MO. I'm Rick Masnick.
And I'm Bob Orlando, and we'll see you next time.